Good morning. I'm Steve Fetter, Dean of the Graduate School, and I'd like to welcome you to this town hall. We're hosting this event with several partners: Graduate Student Government, Graduate Student Life, and International Student Scholar Services, and they'll introduce themselves in a moment. We know these are very difficult times for you, both academically and professionally and personally. Academically, you're dealing with the transition to online courses and exams under the stress of a pandemic, disruption of your research and scholarship, uncertainties about financial support at graduation, and employment after graduation. And of course, many of you have personal challenges relating to family, childcare, and the loss of outside income. We'd like to help you deal with these challenges. We're doing our best to move our services online to support you. If you call our front desk during normal business hours, a person will answer the phone and answer your questions. The Graduate Writing Center and the Office of Career and Professional Development are holding online workshops and consultations. We've moved all courses to satisfactory fail grading to try to reduce stress while giving you the option to receive a letter grade. And we're posting answers to frequently asked questions online. But we know that many of you may be feeling isolated and alone, so we thought it would be good to gather together as a community by video conference and to try to answer other questions you might have. Because this is such a large group, all of your microphones are muted. We invited you to submit questions in advance, and in a moment we'll begin to answer those questions and invite you to submit follow-up or additional questions. Now I'd like to ask Simone Warwick-Bell, our graduate academic counselor, to say a few words. Simone?
Hi, everyone. So Dean Fetter said my name. My name is Simone. I'm the new graduate academic counselor. I just wanted to go over a couple of things in terms of my role as well as resources. So this role is a new role. I started on February 3rd, and then a month and a half later, we had a pandemic. So I've been teleworking since then. My role is primarily to support you all in terms of connecting to resources, whether it be for mental health, financial resources, or any resources I can gather for you on campus. That is my role here. Also, I will be supporting students who are taking any leave of absences at the end of the semester for whatever reason. If you have any questions, I'm always available to answer that by email or by phone. In terms of mental health, understandably, this pandemic is definitely causing a spike in anxiety, stress, worry. This is a hard time for a lot of people, and it can be very triggering for trauma. If you need support, you need help, just to remind you, the Counseling Center on campus is still continuing virtual therapy. That is free, no cost to that. In addition to that, the Behavioral Health Service is also doing weekly virtual meditations. Those are also free. I would encourage students to continue to use the WellTrack app, as well as other apps that are also free, such as Stop, Breathe, and Think, and the Calm app, which has a minor fee to it. If you need help navigating mental health resources, or if you have questions, I'm always happy to help as best as I can. There are a lot of virtual groups out there as well, including Emotions Anonymous and Seven Cups. And I'm just happy to help navigating. I know it's very overwhelming right now, and there are a lot of questions in terms of paying for therapy, support, whatever I can do in terms of answering and supporting you, I'm happy to do that. On the last note, the Student Crisis Fund is available for those who are facing financial hardship. With this being said, the campus as a whole is going through a lot. So this fund has an overwhelming amount of demand. With that, previously, if you would have applied, then it would have been a quick turnaround, but unfortunately with the demand right now that we have, there might be a week waiting if you applied for the emergency fund, for the Student Crisis Fund. If there's other financial resources that I can help you with in navigating, please let me know. With the Student Crisis Fund, it is available. They are still accepting applications. They're not essentially refusing to accept applications, so they're a little bit backlogged, but that's still open. It's still able to apply, and that is available. But we have a lot of questions and a lot of things to get through today. I am here for email. If you call me, I will pick up my phone, I promise. Do not hesitate to reach out. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Simone. Good morning, everybody. My name is Scott Roberts. I'm the Assistant Dean at the Graduate School and a former grad terp myself. And I want to thank all of our partners for co-hosting with us. And I want to turn it over to Sue Doherty from ISSS.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. And today we'd just like to let you know what the ISSS has done in order to adjust to our remote working situation. I want to take a minute to allow Jody Heckman-Bose to also introduce herself, and then I will come back and discuss what services are available remotely.
Hi, my name is Jody Heckman-Bose. I'm the Associate Director at ISSS for Student Services, and I will be answering any questions unique to F1 and J1 students at the end of the session.
Thank you, Jody. Some of the services that the ISSS office has always provided to our F1 and J1 international students have been taken into a remote environment and are still fully available to all the international students. We have our chat operations running. They are happening from Monday to Thursdays from 10:30 to 12:30. We have made our appointments available remotely through WebEx, and you can go to our website and to our frequently asked questions area and look at the question, how can I meet with an advisor? And you will find the links to how to make a remote appointment. We are doing walk-ins virtually, so we do have 15-minute appointments each afternoon, so you can ask the quick questions that you might need answers to regarding immigration statuses or other impacts that you may have concerns about during this time. We have an ability to continue with all the e-form processing, and we're offering workshops online to you as well. And these, you can find out about our workshops both on the homepage of our website, isss.umd.edu, or through ISS News when we are sharing information about those workshops with you. We are having our OPT workshops on the regular schedule, just as they were being offered before we were all working remotely. Some of our special programs like English Conversation Partners at UMD are still continuing in a remote environment. So for people who just want to have an opportunity to have conversations in English, that is still available. And tomorrow we will be offering our first virtual coffee hour. So I hope you can join us and take a little time out to socialize. Our plan is to have breakout rooms in the coffee hour and just to discuss in a very informal way what your experience so far has been with having the university go online. And now I'm going to allow Jody to just finish up with a few steps that have been taken by the government to help international students.
ISSS is monitoring closely what the government has already approved for F1 and J1 students. I think this overview will help later when we get into our more specific questions. But the government has adjusted provisions for any provisions that the university made, such as online courses or cancellation of classes. Since UMD has moved the entire spring semester online, then this is an appropriate method to maintain your F1 status. ISSS has been reporting to the government these changes and adaptations, and thus your F1 and J1 status continues as long as the university has made these as overall adjustments for all students. The second adaptation that the government has made for F1 students involves the 5-month rule. The 5-month rule is a rule for international students that indicates that a student cannot be out of the US for more than 5 months and maintain their status. However, during COVID-19, the government is aware that many students have returned home and did not want to end student status for being out of the US for more than 5 months. So SCVP suspended this rule for students who are maintaining their F1 students who decided to return home. So there's no need to worry about the 5-month rule during this period. And finally, the third adaptation that SCVP has allowed is the ability to send some of your immigration documents, the I-20, electronically. Normally, regulations do not allow I-20s to be sent electronically. However, SCVP suspended this regulation for the purposes of applying mainly for immigration benefits. And we'll talk later about that in your questions, which I-20s need to be original and which ones can be given electronically. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue and Jody. And as a reminder, we have another meeting at 11 a.m. for all international students to join us and to speak in more detail about questions that you have there. Also joining us today is Jennifer from Graduate Student Life.
Hi, everyone. Like Scott said, my name's Jennifer. I go by she and hers. I am the coordinator for Graduate Student Life, and normally you'd find me in the STAMP Student Union along with Aggie and Corinne, who work with me as GAs. So our office exists to help you connect with other students outside of the classrooms and labs. So we've hosted many different social events like game nights, craft nights, and coordinated trips to see shows and visit other places in and outside of the DMV area. We work with other units on campus to advocate and collaborate on initiatives to support the grad student community. This includes supporting and working with GSG and other student organizations. And lastly, we manage the grad student lounge located in the STAMP Student Union. So even with all that's happening right now, we still want to provide a space that you can still connect with other students. So STAMP as a whole is working together to put on events for the community, like the TERP Talent Showcase, which we hope to provide every Tuesday. So if you have a talent, let me know and I'll get you on that event. We are trying to host trivia nights and other kind of game nights, as well as other creative sessions and challenges. GSL and other STAMP departments are hosting lounge hours like ISSS through Zoom, where you can check in with staff, ask questions, and connect with other folks. I'd also like to mention that the chapel is still hosting virtual mass and other events related to spirituality. If you're into gaming, the Terp Zone will be hosting a Super Smash Brothers tournament next Saturday. So like I said, we're hosting a virtual lounge. This is acting similar to the lounge that we have in this physical space of STAMP. So you can join us with Aggie or Corinne, and I often join them myself, and you can chat with other grad students. We can eat together, study together, and play games. It's really up to what you all want to do. So I actually do have a couple of poll questions for you all. If Amanda can pull those up. So the first one is, before this meeting, were you aware of our virtual hours? The second one is, what kind of events you would like to see us host? Because we want to meet you where you are. And the last one is, what time would you be available for these kinds of events? Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. And also representing the graduate student government is Annie Rappaport. Annie?
I had to wait to be unmuted. Hi, everyone. My name is Annie. Good morning to you all. And as a fellow graduate student, I just want to say that I too am a resource for all of you, as is our executive team. And if your program has a program representative, you can see all of that on our graduate student government website, which is gsgumd.org. We also have an ongoing frequently asked questions sheet going on, which has been very interactive, and I've really appreciated everyone contacting me either for just sharing or to get answers or get a clarification on answers. We do our best to keep that up to date for all of you. We are hoping that even in this kind of chaotic time that some of you have an interest in joining our advocacy and community building efforts, and we will be having our elections in like a month. And I know it's really weird to talk about that right now, but I really do hope some of you will consider joining GSG as graduate students yourselves to help make sure that we maintain a really representative voice across campus.
Great, thank you, Annie. We invited everyone to submit questions as part of the registration process, and so I wanted to address some of those, and then we're going to turn to the questions that you are submitting by chat to the host, which is Amanda. In no particular order, one student asked if they were allowed to record their thesis defense presentation, and the answer is absolutely. Zoom, if you're doing it by Zoom or WebEx, there are features to record. You may want to make sure that you're set up as a co-host. We strongly encourage that someone from the committee or the committee chair be the actual host to manage the logistics of the meeting. But either they can record it for you or they can make you a co-host and you can record it directly to your computer. There were some questions about visa issues for international students. And so as Sue and Jody mentioned, they have their FAQ site and we've shared the link in the chat. That has a lot of your answers there. And then we'll of course be happy to field some questions here and in our 11 a.m. And then there were some questions about financial support for graduate students given all of these issues. And Simone highlighted one, but I wanted to turn that over to Dean Fetter to tell us a little more about what the university is doing to support you.
Yes, thanks, Scott. So you probably know that the CARES Act will provide money to the university, and a significant fraction of those funds, at least half, will be devoted to emergency funding, emergency grants to students to cover the costs of attendance, including housing and food and transportation, if it is necessary. We are awaiting guidance from the federal government on how to use those funds. We expect rules to be issued, and also the amount of funding that we will receive. Also, you may know that the U.S. government will be issuing recovery checks to all U.S. citizens and permanent residents, and that would include any graduate student who filed a tax return in either 2019 or 2018. Those will be for $1,200 for each adult and $500 for each child, I believe. Several students have asked about unemployment insurance, and we are awaiting guidance from the state, who's awaiting guidance from the federal government on the expanded eligibility for unemployment insurance under the CARES Act. So when we have guidance, we will relay it immediately to all of you.
Great, thank you. Dean Fair, there were also some questions about the university hiring freeze and how that might impact graduate assistants.
So the hiring freeze does not apply to graduate assistants, so the normal rules apply. If a department or a faculty member has offered you a graduate assistantship for the fall, check with the department or the faculty member. If they still have their funding, then they will be able to appoint you as a graduate assistant. So we're not looking to reduce. In fact, we're looking to maintain the number of graduate assistantships on campus.
Great, thank you. And there were also questions about the university's plans for summer session and for the upcoming fall semester. Do you have any updates there?
So we have not yet made a decision about the summer session, whether classes will be in person or online. The provost will make a decision on that before May 1st. We are hoping that at least summer session 2 will be able to be delivered in person because there's a high demand for lab and studio courses that can take place only in person. So we're delaying to make a decision in the hope that we will be able to offer the full set of courses in person, at least in summer session 2. And we are planning to deliver all courses in person in the fall. Although, of course, that will depend on the progress of the pandemic. If it is not possible to deliver courses in person in the fall, they'll be delivered online. The university will remain in operation.
Thank you. We did have a question about whether after finishing a defense, students still need to fill out the thesis and dissertation publication form. The answer is yes, please complete that form. That's required by the registrar. And so if you have any comments or questions on that, you can email them at registrar-graduate@umd.edu. We had a question about deadlines. Can graduate students get an extension for their last semester to finish their thesis? A supervisor said that might be possible, but didn't know what to do or how to go about that. Dean Fetter?
Yes, so students, master's students have 5 years to complete a master's degree, including submitting the thesis. We have few students who bump up against that deadline, but if you do need an extension, there is a process for requesting an extension. I should say that for any student who planned to submit their thesis this semester and is delayed, we've made provisions for you to submit late in this semester, as late as May 29th, and graduate during the summer without the need to register for the summer and without the need to pay any tuition or fees. If you can't meet the May 29th deadline, you can submit as late as, I believe it's August 14th, and graduate during the summer. And we will make free sections, tuition-free sections of $7.99 available to you. Or if your program doesn't use $7.99 but has another capstone course, I believe this is the case for Masters of Music students, we'll make similar arrangements for other Masters capstone students so that you can finish in the summer. Our general philosophy has been to try to do what we can to allow you to complete your degrees on time or as soon as possible, but to encourage programs to offer to delay or postpone to the fall when you would prefer that option.
Great, thank you. And I've posted in the chat the link to the form to request an extension and the email address that gets submitted to. See, there's a question about the refunds and specifically what refunds are online master students eligible for, if any.
So all fees will be refunded except the IT and library fee and the health center fee. And I know what those are for on-campus master's students. I know what the refunds will be. I don't know what the refunds will be for online students, although I expect that online students are not paying the other fees, the athletic fee, the student activity fees, and so on. So you'd have to check with your particular program if you're paying non-standard fees. Or if your fees were itemized, you should get a prorated refund of everything except the IT and health center fee. So for those of you who paid standard fees, the refunds will be $170 for part-time, and I had it written down here, $306 for full-time students.
Great, thank you. So let's see. There was a question of if someone receives support from the crisis fund, do they have to report it on taxes? And our understanding is any support received should be reported as income per normal guidelines. there was a question for ISSS. Assuming the fall semester is online, will F1 students be eligible to take up the internship in the fall?
Absolutely. F1 and J1 students, if they have any internships or work off campus, go through a process known as curricular practical training. We are approving curricular practical training even for the summer. And so if you have an internship that is off campus, not with a UMD employer, and that employer has made an arrangement for you to work remotely, these are things that we can handle in our office. So you should make an appointment with an advisor. We have been approving CPT for summer for many internships that are set to be remote. And the same would be true for fall. If we are still in a remote situation, those internships would be able to be performed remotely. You would just have an offer letter from the employer explaining the relationship and how you will fulfill the work duties remotely. As a reminder, any work that is not done by UMD would need approval, even if it's from your home.
And I'm sorry, Jody, if you covered this in your answer, my audio cut out for a moment, but there was another question specifically about if an internship changed now to work from home, and is that valid?
Mm-hmm. Right. So that was a two-part question. If you're currently in an internship and that internship was originally in person and it is now moved to a remote situation, you just want to have proof of that for your own records. SEVP has indicated that online remote work during this time is permitted either for CPT or for work that's done with the university as assistantships have moved remotely. So those are fine. In terms of do I need work permission if I'm working from home? That was the second part of the question. And yes, as I said before, even if you're working from home, as an F1 or J1 student, you still need to push permission to be working with a non-UMD employer.
Great, thank you. I received a question asking if there have been any talks about extending GA-ship benefits for graduating masters and doc students who need it, especially with the hiring freeze. Will students be able to extend their GA-ship and receive their stipend after graduating throughout the summer and into the fall semesters?
So unfortunately, we are not able to do that. The health benefits are, the University of Maryland is unusual in offering the state employee health benefit packages to GAs, but those are available only so long as you're a student, so only so long as you are part of the University of Maryland. We can't extend it past graduation. I should say, though, that the student health insurance plan, SHIP, is available, and that if you are covered by SHIP, that coverage remains through the summer. If you are on a state plan, that coverage under that plan can be extended using COBRA, but that tends to be an expensive option because you would be available for the full cost of the premium, which could be several $100s per month. But there are plans available under the Affordable Care Act, under the exchange managed by the state of Maryland. And I'm sure that our health center will help students identify the lowest cost plan that would be available for you.
Great. We have a question about the August 14th graduation. If I want to graduate in August 14th, do you have to have special authorization to do that? And the answer to that is if you do not meet the requirements for spring graduation and you've applied for it, you're automatically moved over to the summer. If you did not apply for spring graduation, then you need to go in and apply by the deadlines. And I'm going to provide the link to the academic deadlines in the chat box.
And I should have mentioned that the tuition-free sections of $7.99 and other capstone courses that we're making available during the summer. Those are available to students who applied for spring graduation, but who are unable to complete in the spring due to the crisis.
There was another question about defenses and online meetings being recorded and whether you need to get waivers signed by everybody that is in the audience. And the general guidance is that you should inform everyone that a meeting is being recorded. You don't need written guidance. And there are some resources from Zoom on how to manage recordings, and I'll post that link in the chat box. As a reminder, as you're writing in questions, please do send them to the meeting host, Amanda. She's helping to organize those so that I can answer them for you. So let's see, where else? Oh no, I'm sorry, we already addressed that. Is there a timeline to expect to get the mandatory fee refund? My understanding is campus is working to get those issued by April 30, but that's they're going to move as fast as they can on it, but it's complicated.
Unfortunately, our IT systems are quite old, and in fact, we were beginning a process to replace them, but we're still using our old systems that make it difficult to issue these refunds. So I know the staff is working as fast as they can. The refunds will be posted to your student accounts. And then if you have a balance, it will be refunded to you by direct deposit, or if you haven't signed up for deposit, by check.
Great. Someone sent me a question asking if they could get information about the tuition fellowship program.
So we will rely on programs to make these requests because every program is different. We've let, and this really will apply only for international students who are unable to arrive on campus. But we're waiting for each program to determine what it will do for international students, new international students who are unable to arrive on campus, whether they will defer admission or whether they will begin courses online. And so talk to your program about that.
And there's a question for ISSS, and then I'd like to, they have a couple polling questions that they were going to ask. The question was, the U.S. consulate in India is currently not providing any visa appointments right now because of the ongoing pandemic. If it continues, then do I have to defer my fall 2020 admission?
I'm guessing this is a new student that is on asking the question. So assuming that you're a new student, you should be working with your department. Some departments are considering starting students in an online way, their program online. Other departments, this isn't possible. So this should be something that you're having a conversation with your department about what is possible for new students. If starting your program from your home country online is not possible for your department, then yes, it would be working with the graduate school to defer either to spring or to the following fall, again, depending on what your department can accommodate with their program. ISSS plans to have a e-form that will be sent out to all new international students asking what their plan is. This would maybe go out sometime in July with a deadline of August 1st, where we are gathering information regarding your plans, whether or not you'll be able to arrive, if you plan to defer to another semester, or if you're working with your department, starting your program remotely from home.
Thank you. And I know you had some polling questions you wanted to ask. Amanda, are you able to queue those up?
So these are a set of polling questions for international students who might be listening at this time. And if we can just take 15 or 20 seconds to complete those questions, we'd just like to know who's in attendance and appreciate your responses. Thank you.
And while some are replying to that, there was a question about the Student Crisis Fund that someone had applied and was temporarily rejected due to a lack of funds. Is there any timeline when those funds will be replenished?
So the Student Crisis Fund, they are doing development and they're trying to raise more money for it. Every time they replenish it, essentially they have to have a wait because they're backlogged on applications. So it can be, they're reviewing applications from the time that you apply, it's a week. From there, if the amount is not there, then it's still potentially another week from there in terms of fundraising. Essentially, the Student Crisis Fund relies on donations and everything from there. So because it's an overwhelming demand, it's just more time tied to it.
Thank you. All right, there's our poll results. There was a question about if you're a continuing student, can you extend health benefits through the summer?
Yes, so, well, all students with SHIP have full year coverage. So if you're enrolled in the student health insurance plan, you're covered for a full year. And then in the fall, you can re-enroll. If you're a graduate assistant and you're enrolled in one of the state health plans, you will also be covered in the summer, so long as you don't graduate. So if you're a continuing student in the fall, that during the academic year, you pay for a full year of coverage, just like faculty do, and you will be covered in the summer.
Great, thank you. And the grad school has a webpage dedicated to health insurance information, and we'll get that link to you in the chat box. There was a question sent to me privately. Is the health center open for any kind of medical emergencies?
I believe it is, but Jennifer, you're in student affairs. Do you do you have any information? I know they have reduced staffing, but I believe the health center is open. Oh, Jennifer, can you unmute?
Yeah, they are open and are taking visits. They have a particular process of how you enter into the building and things like that for precautionary measures. And I believe they're also taking virtual visits whenever possible.
And in the case of emergencies, the health center is not an emergency room, so students can go to the health center for an emergency. If it is an emergency that requires medical care, that student would be transported to a local hospital.
We have a question about graduation. I'm finishing my thesis for May 29th deadline. When will the registrar update the transcript to show degree awarded? My new job wants a start date, but I do not know if I have to wait for summer graduation or if the transcript is updated before that. I had previously applied for graduation in the spring.
Toyin, would you know the answer? I'm looking.
We'll we can follow up on our FAQ page when we get an answer for that question. And you can always email us if that's you or if that relates to you. Send us an email at gradschool@umd.edu and we'll get you a response.
So I know that graduation is a monthly event, or at least that the recording of having met all the requirements for the degree is done on a monthly basis, but I don't know what day of the month it's done on. So we will find out from the registrar.
Great. And just going back to the health centers, there is a note from the health center guidance is much like other locations. They are asking people whenever possible to call in advance of arriving if you're going there in person. And their number is 301-314-8157, and of course is on their website. We have another question going back to internships, and just to clarify, if internship sites have canceled for the summer, will there be additional resources and options given to students? Will internship requirements be altered?
That really is a question for your program, because there's no university, no graduate school requirement for an internship. Those are requirements of your program. For some programs, there is a requirement for an internship or a practicum for licensing or accreditation purposes. And so this varies a lot by program. And I know that programs are in contact with state agencies in cases where licensing requirements are tied to internships. So please talk to your Director of Graduate Studies about internship requirements.
Great. One last question, and then I think we'll be at time and need to wrap up. There's a question as to whether there would be any partial refunds of tuition, since there are online lectures now which are pre-recorded and put up with less interaction.
I'm sure that we've received this question from many students, and I believe that the president and the provost will be addressing this issue directly. But the graduate school has no authority to change or waive or reduce tuition.
Great, thank you. There were a couple quick questions about students who are graduating in December. Is it possible to extend their graduation to May? And so we just wanted to note that if you do not meet the requirement for December graduation, you'll be rolled over to May, which is the next graduation semester. And finally, a question about applying for an extension this semester. The question was, do I need to apply for an extension of this semester? Would have been the last semester of my 5th year of graduate school. And the answer is yes, a time extension would be required. So you can submit that form. All right. Oh, and I'm sorry, finally, one last question related to fees. A question for ISSS. Would they be refunding any part of the fees for international students?
The fee that is called the International Student Fee is a university fee. It is not one of the mandatory fees. So as far as I know, it was not included in the refunds that the university announced.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you to all of our co-hosts. Thank you to all of you for joining us during this challenging time. If there's anything that we can do to support you, please reach out to us and let us know. We're here for you, even if the building is locked. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and have a great rest of your day.